Hey everyone, and welcome to HopCast.
Thanks for coming back, everybody.
I'm Brad Chmielewski.
My name is Ken Hunnemeder.
And we've got a coffee stout, possible milk stout episode.
So we have the Xocoveza from Stone, which they call a winter-spiced mocha stout.
Uh-huh.
So it has some cocoa, coffee, peppers, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. And then
from Wiseacre, we got the gotta get up to get down.
Coffee milk stout. Mm-hmm. So a little bit more streamlined.
Yeah, simple. So I had this Stone mocha stout last season. My uncle had it. He had one bottle left, and I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. I need to find it again, and it was like gone at that point. So I'm excited to try it again and to see if it was this one time like mystery beer you have and you can never find again, or if it's actually that good.
I have never had it, so I take your recommendations very seriously.
And then Wiseacre, they just came to Chicago.
Yeah, so they're down in Memphis, correct?
Yeah.
Memphis, Tennessee, and Davin, who was a brewer here in the Chicago area at Rock Bottom, left our great city and went down to Tennessee to open up his own brewery. So very happy for Davin and his brother out there, and he's always made really, really great beer, and they're kind of making a name for themselves right now, so it's good to see.
And we've had some of them, but we haven't had this. So.
Exactly. I got to get up to get down.
Of course, yeah. So this one's, what do we look at alcohol? This is 5%. What's our Stone one? Probably a little bigger because it's Stone, right?
Yeah, I think it's like 8 or something.
So let's get up first.
Yeah, let's do that, and before we get into the crazy spicing and all that stuff.
That's true. That's a good one. Yeah. Get our coffee. Get our coffee. Start in the morning. All right.
Let's do it.
So we got dark beer there.
Yeah, dark beer. A little bit of like red ruby highlights to it.
You got a little bit of head on yours. Nothing like crazy lacing or anything like that going on either. But
it's nice and frothy.
Yeah,
there.
Looks nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's a lot of coffee.
Beautiful aroma on that. You do get some a little bit of like vanilla sweetness coming off the nose, but it blends nicely with that coffee.
Ooh, that smells really good.
Pretty fresh.
Well, yeah, they just came here in the market, so I would think it's within like a month or so, right?
We've seen certain breweries come to the market with really old beers, but they're a little smaller.
I like that it's a coffee milk stout ale with coffee.
TTB.
Just in case. What makes you think it was fresh? Just the coffee aroma?
Yeah, the coffee aroma is really, really powerful, strong, and just, sometimes it just smells fresh. You can smell when something has been sitting and it's a little stale.
Okay.
Especially with coffee. This smells really good. Lots of like kind of chocolate, some biscuity notes.
Yeah.
Cocoa.
Let's give it a taste.
It smells great.
Wow, the mouthfeel, it's not like super thick, but it's like full.
Yeah, I think from the lactose sugar, this being a milk stout and all, there's a little bit of filling out the bottom of that with that unfermentable sugar from the lactose. So it has this kind of smooth, velvety type of feel. But yeah, I think you're right. It's not like kind of cloying on the tongue. It doesn't come off as too sweet at all. I mean, it's a richer style of beer, which is good for this time of year. We're in October right now, so weather's kind of cooling down a little bit, so it's perfect for right now.
And it's like a thin body, but I kind of like that. I don't want like so sweet, like sticky and just like it's full and gross. I drink these milk stouts, and when it comes in like 6-pack cans too, that more than likely you may not pour out. You may just like be drinking a can.
I mean, when you think of like the benchmark of milk stout for craft breweries, you think about Left Hand, right?
Yeah.
And that's a similar kind of mouthfeel on it. It's not this super thick. I mean, it's going to be a little bit more body than a Guinness, because a Guinness is super thin, but it should feel fairly light, even for a dark beer. So otherwise, it gets a little overwhelming. It's nice to have some of those like roasty flavors, especially if you're coming from the coffee, along with the malt and a little bit of the vanilla and some of those like richer flavors that you get from those roasted malts. But it's still drinkable at the same time.
Nice. So Wiseacre, David brewed with Pete Crawley at Rock Bottom Chicago, and then he was a brewer at Rock Bottom Warrenville, where he was on episode for the first Pop Fest.
That's right. Yeah, he was doing this popcorn beer festival. So he would make a beer with popcorn as the grain bill or your sugar source, and then invited a bunch of other breweries around, and they would actually pair different popcorn flavors with whatever beer.
That fest is still going on every year, so that's
that was cool. That was a cool festival.
But
he would make like this big malt liquor with popcorn,
which fits his personality.
It really does
pretty well.
We talked to him at the Midwest Belgium Fest, right down at
in St. Louis.
In St. Louis. So you can probably get a good idea of his character from that one. He's a kind of a crazy dude, really funny guy. So we miss him up here in Chicago.
But it's great to see his beers coming back in the market here. I know he loves Chicago, and his family does too, so I think it's appropriate that their beers would be here.
The cat likes it too.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to finish this up. This was the only beer I saw in the store for them. Right now, I know they have multiple other beers, but this was.
I was just at a liquor store today, and I think they had 4 different Wiseacre beers.
Okay.
So
I think
they're getting around.
Yeah, because they said Nick White. I was talking to him. Shut up. He was saying he was at one of the Wiseacre events, and they wanted to come to Chicago a long time ago, but you don't just come to Chicago lightly. You gotta come with beer. You gotta be ready for this town to drink.
Chicago is a tough market. We're right in the middle of the country. It's a big city. And so we kind of get, distribution-wise, it's probably the best place to be in the country, where we are getting stuff from the West Coast, we're getting stuff from the East Coast, and we're getting the best of the best.
Yeah.
So we're getting stuff from all over, so it's a very competitive market. So it's got to be a tough decision to come here. But if your beer is good, you're going to do well.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And I have a feeling they're going to do well. Just the relationships that they have, and the beers I've had in the past were always like top notch.
Yeah, they've had a good amount of buzz within the scene. They've won some medals, so I think they're making a name for themselves, doing pretty well. They just continue to make good beer. They should be all right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, should we move on to the Stone and see what they got to offer?
Let's do it.
Cheers. All right, are you ready to add some spice to your life?
I need some spice in my life. So hard. Yeah. People of the world.
I feel like we have a love-hate relationship with Stone a little bit. Is that like a common thing with most people?
I think that, they've done some good things for the industry. They were certainly one of the pioneers, but can make some odd decisions sometimes and rub people the wrong way. The whole, for the longest time, like yellow fizzy beer is for wussies until Pilsners became popular, and then they made one.
Yeah.
That was kind of like, what? Really? Seriously? But that's part of their ethos. They're the big, arrogant brewery.
Right.
Which some people really attach themselves to, and other people are kind of turned off by it.
I feel like if you're from the area and Stone is your brewery, like that whole mindset, like you can go there all the time and you're like so behind it, like it makes sense. Like kudos to you. Like the brewery you want to support and you like everything they do. But from afar, it's like, man, you guys are kind of jerks sometimes. But you make good beer, and when I have it, I'm like, I hate that I like this beer.
Yeah, they didn't really. They came into the Chicago market. God, what was that? Like maybe 3 years ago, 4 years.
4 years, yeah. When all the small bars existed.
Simpler times. Yeah, and we were at a couple of their release events when they were rolling out. Greg came out to the market and was hanging out drinking beers. And they came really, really big, and then since then it's just kind of like no one really cared anymore. Mm-hmm. So I think it's been tough for them.
We did have that Brett Enjoy After recently. That was pretty good. So we do visit them from time to time.
Yeah, and they've certainly been making headlines recently. Laid off, I think, upwards of 80 people fairly recently, which is kind of a bummer. And these weren't just like employee, like any employee. These are
right.
A lot of them had started with the company 20 years ago, and probably had some inflated paychecks,
right?
And were let go.
But then we should open the beer and talk more about this. Let's open the beer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thirsty.
Yeah,
so.
Glasses are empty. Yeah.
What are we doing? I'm getting old.
Alright, that poured out probably as dark as the other one.
Yeah, right about the same. Maybe slightly darker, but it's a close call.
Yeah, I think the head has a little more like tan color to it than the.
Mine's nice and frothy.
Gotta get up to get down. Yeah. Whew, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, I definitely get the spice character straight away, right off the bat. Cinnamon, nutmeg are jumping out at me primarily.
It's kind of like a spicy. I know it's a spice, but it's like a spicy, like a peppery.
There are peppers in it.
Kind of thing going on too. Like it tickles the nostrils.
Yeah, so cocoa, coffee, peppers. I don't know what kind of peppers, but vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg.
Probably black peppers because it's a stout.
Black peppers.
Yeah, all right. I feel like you're just gonna keep smelling and like find something else. Like
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on in the aroma for sure.
Get a little bit of chocolate too.
Not a typical stone
mocha.
offering. Yeah, it is mocha stout.
All right.
Your palate's just locked in.
Yeah. Woo! I smell mocha and stout.
And cinnamon and stout and vanilla. And nutmeg? And I want to say peppers.
Yeah.
Some coffee in there too.
What did I miss? Okay. It's like a warming feeling in your mouth. Whoa. And like chestnuts at the end, like, or
it's I mean, it's got all that kitchen sink stuff going on in there. But for me, it kind of like, it's not as rounded as the gotta get up to get down. It kind of finishes a little tinny and thin.
Okay. But it tastes like you ate those, like, from Trader Joe's, the candied, like, almonds, like the sugar-covered almonds. Like, it just feels like...
Oh, yeah, that, like, you would find on Navy Pier.
Yeah.
You're right on. It does taste like that. My dad would love this beer.
Yeah. It's like kind of sticky. You're like, yeah.
He's one of those dudes that's always just kind of like ducking away so that he can buy some of those nuts. And then he comes back to the group and they're all gone. So he doesn't even share.
Oh, I'll go back and get some more.
He goes, wanted some? Yeah, he loves that shit. But yeah, you're right on about that.
It just feels like we need like our puffy coats and like
yeah.
hanging around the campfire.
Just get
drinking.
super basic.
Yeah. I dig it, but yeah, there's like almost like too much happening right now.
Yeah, it's just like there's a little harshness in the end that doesn't like fully round out that beer. It's a little astringent, slightly bitter, and I think if it was just a little smoother, those spices and all the different ingredients that they use would kind of fit a little better.
Yeah.
I think the flavor profile is pretty good, but it's just like wasn't.
Do you mean like smoother, like the balance, or like a creaminess to it?
I think a little bit of both. Like if there was some creaminess to it, it would kind of round it out. But also if you just like lost a little bit of that harsh, those harsh tones to it, whether it's like it's just hop bitterness or it's barley roast bitterness. Okay. I'm not sure what it is, but
do you think if it was? I think I thought these were both milk stouts. Do you think if it had some of that like lactose, milky?
Lactose could help out, like add a little bit more sweetness, or I mean, I think just like cutting down on that on the bitterness without adding more sweetness might be the way to go. Mm-hmm. But
it is an interesting beer, mm-hmm. and I think it's a nice take on the holiday seasonal beers. That it's not. There's a lot of them that are just so cinnamon and nutmeg, like.
The spice character is done in pretty good balance, and it's not overwhelming, which is tough to do with cinnamon. It can easily go overboard really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And I think they did a good job on that. But yeah, it's not like super sweet like a lot of the holiday beers can be, which I think is good. That's kind of why I'm like, I don't know if I would do the lactose thing, because you're just going to push it into that realm of being too sweet. But
maybe, like, I remember loving this beer, and I wonder if it was at like an end of a night kind of thing, like you've had a lot of other things and you're looking for something.
Do you think it's different this year? Do you like it as much as you did?
No, I feel like I was like, oh my God, and I went out, like that was probably one of the first beers I remember in a long time going and being like, I need to get this beer.
It's one of those like 15th beer of the night. You're like, that was awesome.
Yeah, it could have very well been that, and it might have been because it was so different, and we were drinking. Who knows what we were drinking that night? Maybe we were drinking from the cellar, and there was just like aged stuff, and we're like, oh, and this was like bright and. It
would definitely
different.
Stand out.
Yeah,
it's a unique beer.
So it might have been some of that, and that's where I think it kind of wins because it does stand out.
Yep, for sure. Interesting beer. I think the idea behind it was pretty good. I'm not so sure on the execution.
Mm-hmm. So back to the layoffs idea. Do you think they laid off people also because they opened up multiple breweries across the world and they didn't need as many people brewing in the one location? Like we just don't need like.
Well, it wasn't even just brewers that got laid off. It was people from all over the company, and it sounds like these were people that a lot of them had been there for a long, long time. I don't know the specifics of the ins and outs. I've talked to some people who worked at Stone, and they were pretty surprised by it. But it seems like Greg had stepped down out of the CEO role, mm-hmm. and they brought in more of a corporate-minded person. Who previously worked at like Palm Wonderful, so like that pomegranate juice. So what a corporate CEO is going to do is
trim the fat,
come in and try to maximize profits and all that. So if you have a bunch of bloated salaries, they were the first ones to go. It's unfortunate. I have heard that that Stone offered pretty good severance packages and also some career assistance in looking for new jobs. So that was pretty cool of them. But I feel like tough situation.
You worked at Stone, you probably have a pretty good in at like another brewery.
I think so. Yeah.
And the amount that are opening and like continue to open. So.
Yeah, it's going to be tough though because Stone is a pretty big brewery out in that area, and they had access to a lot of resources. I don't know if these people are going to be able to get paid what they were getting paid before. I'm sure they can find a job, but I mean, it's pretty common that craft brewing does not really pay a lot of money. You do it because you want to do it.
Yeah, we've had other friends that jumped into the industry and they're like, Yeah, that wasn't worth it. I'm going back to corporate America.
Yeah.
I like beer, but I will just buy it.
Yeah, I mean, people aren't really in it for the money. I mean, you can make money, depending on what your role is, or your title. I think people like owners like Sam Calagione is probably doing pretty good.
Probably, but there's a lot of like other things he's done, books and food engagements.
He's done it very, very smart. Mm-hmm. So there's opportunities to be had there, but it's not typical if you're just kind of doing like you're working in finance at a brewery, probably not making way up here.
Yeah.
But you do it because you like it. Mm-hmm. You like the culture.
And Stone has a very interesting culture.
They do. So yeah, it's unfortunate. We'll wish everybody the best of luck. I know Dr. Bill just announced that he's opening a new brewery.
Wild Barrel.
Yeah.
Right.
So that should be interesting. And yeah, we wish everybody the best over there.
Mm-hmm. So check out Stone. Check out Wiseacre if you're in the Tennessee to Chicago like region.
There you go.
I think they're also maybe in like Pittsburgh along with like Half Acre too. I feel like there's like a drop there as well.
So. Half Acres in Pittsburgh, huh?
Right?
I know they're in Philly.
Oh, Philly. Maybe where was the Craft Brewers Conference? Was it in Pittsburgh?
I think it was Philly.
Philly. Then Wiseacre's in Philly too.
Okay.
Because they have
Philly's another good beer market, so I'm not surprised by that.
So Half Acre really and Wiseacre in.
Half Wiseacre.
Yeah. But yeah, that'll do it for this sort of milk stouty episode.
It's cold out. Drink some stouts.
Cheers.